Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another Sister My Soul conversation with Asha and Victoria. Last time, Asha, I pointed to you and you were on the other side when I watched it. So I don't know where you are in the recording, but Asha, obviously I'm Victoria and that's Asha.
Hello.
So we welcome you back, and basically what we do, we are just continuing a conversation that started a few months back during this time of sheltering in place. I was space. I almost said space, or
Well, it's
sheltering.
space too.
Space, sheltering in soul, which is what we're doing. Connecting. We reached out to one another so that we could kind of buoy each other up, and we thought, let's expand that to other women out there who might need to be held in sister love and connection. So we not only invite you to take this time for yourself and be with us, but to engage in conversation with us with comments. And we're mindful that you're out there. We want you to know that. So we're going to be thinking about you and connecting with you a bit more through our conversation. So basically what we do is we just check in right where we are in this very moment. We don't edit, we don't filter. The unfiltered,
Sure.
real and raw. And the thing that is, I think that also is part of this messaging here with this offering, is that Asha and I are both professional women in working and supporting others as I'll speak for myself as a transformational hypnotherapist, a soul guide, connecting to others, but we are sort of letting you in behind the curtain to see how we navigate our human experience with all of our tools, and we share a lot of them in our conversations, but just as that reminder that you're not alone. And that's why Asha and I connected. We need each other. And during these times of feeling very isolated, more than ever, we have to find connection the best way we can. So
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. So I'm going to turn it over to you because I love how we start with a check-in and then just start bouncing off each other and see where we go.
Well, for me, what I noticed is the turning of the month also helped with me in a turning of my internal landscape. I remember every year, I always forget, and then I remember that for me, September is New Year. Because I was on a school schedule for so much of my life, not only as a student, but I taught drama in elementary schools for almost 30 years. So September was a new beginning. When I was in ministerial school, we generally would have a super light schedule for the summer. And then September, we would dive back in again to the work. So there's something in me that always feels refreshed and renewed and gets a new burst of creativity and energy in September. And I forget that sometimes in the doldrums of August, most years, and then this year was extra doldrumy. So I've been noticing in the last week a different sense of energy, creativity, spaciousness. I did an art project with a young friend of mine who comes to visit with his mom all the time. I've hired him to do landscape work, and he cleans my house a couple times a month. And then the other day I got a crazy idea for an outdoor art sculpture using some junk that we had on the side barn for 2 years that was sitting outside waiting for us to take it to the dump. And some of it was old chairs. And so we created an art sculpture on our property. We have an area where we're trying to do more of that. And part of my awareness in the last couple of weeks was it's time to unlock some art, some creativity, some in-body things differently than we've been doing. So we created this sculpture that looks like little freeze frames of somebody heaving a chair through time and space, and it's slowly disintegrating. Wow. So, because we had about 8 chairs. So the first one is up in it, and we have a row of trees. So the first one is up in the tree, kind of cockeyed. The next one is like it was spinning. Then the next one is a couple of pieces are missing, but they're still there on the next tree. So we were like hammering and hanging. And then it's got this cool flow of a complete chair all the way to just a pile of trash on the ground at the other end. We called it a giant tantrum, because it
Oh
looks
my
like a
goodness.
giant had a tantrum and just threw this chair, and each space has like a freeze frame of the chair going through its destruction. And it was also very satisfying because we smashed up those chairs. We picked them up and heaved them to the ground, and like, oh, that felt so satisfying to break something and then create something out of it. So yeah, that was cool. I've gotten a different picture about how we want to move forward with our spiritual community in the next coming months, because I said, you know, the internal climate, the world climate is not going to get any prettier in the next few months. And how can we stay out of this sense of hopelessness and futility and fear? And so I'm very clear that creating art together, body processes like ecstatic breath work and dancing and movement and, you know, things that are embodied are the way that there's going to help us move through, to reroot and reground ourselves, because the mind wants to do all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's kind of where I've been at in the last, since we talked last. There's been a shift, you know, that shift to fall for me feels powerful. Energetically, it feels powerful, and I feel more hopeful. I don't know that that's the right word, but I feel less hopeless, that's for sure, and less afraid, and less of the dramatic Holocausty part of my creative imagination is engaged, because I'm engaging it in other things. So that has been, that's been good. It's been really good.
I want to see, did you take pictures of that art thing that you did?
I'm going to. I haven't yet, but because I
Okay.
had a couple of friends that said, take a picture. So I'll definitely take a picture and I'll send it to you. And
Okay,
yeah.
I'd love to see it. Yeah.
My mom said, what's it called? And I'm like, I don't know. A giant tantrum.
I love that. I had all kinds of connections, and that's the beautiful thing about art, is that when it touches the other soul, I think all art's created from a soul place, touches my soul, and then I have a connection and an awareness of something it means to me. Immediately, I felt like these different chairs of the transformation we're in. We started in this one stable chair, and it's like dissolving and changing. It's like, where's my chair? Where's my seat in the world? Where, how do I be? And it's just like dissolving into something we don't know yet. That's what was my felt sense of that. So I bet you.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah, and others will have their own interpretation of that.
Yeah.
But as always, when I listen to your check-ins, I'm like, oh yeah, that, oh yeah, that, oh yeah, that. So where to start? I too have that September feeling. I'm sure it's very much conditioned pattern into all of us, starting back to school, starting new. But astrologically too, we move into Virgo, which is like, I always think of Virgo as the school marm. Like, okay, let's get ready to learn and do the practical things and get into routine and consistency. This is the time of the year, which I love about it. You know, if we follow the seasons, the natural seasons externally, and then the energetics externally, how they match and mirror our inner world. But also we have a new moon on the 17th, which is a sun in Virgo and moon in Virgo. So it's an extra push of, what have you learned? How are you going to practically apply it? And what are you doing? And, again, that school marm, sit down, take your seat and do your work, So
yeah,
and that feeling is very present in me as well. Yeah. What were you going to add?
I was just going to say it, and the harvest. We're harvesting what we planted.
Yes, that's right. Going into the harvest. Yes. There was some other thing you said that was like, yes, to that. Oh, yes, engaging in a process, doing your chairs. It was an engaging process. And I'm starting my program, my training, my spiritual direction program this Thursday, my first intensive. Yeah, it's cool. And yet I hit that place where, when you sign up for something or you commit to something, and then you get closer and it's like, why am I doing this again? And you have to find your why, and all kinds of sort of fear. And is this the right choice? So I was thinking a good topic is knowing your yes, trusting your intuition when you make a choice, because when we make a choice, ego is going to challenge that choice every single time. And you just need to keep moving forward to break that grip of fear from ego. I love that acronym for ego, edging God out. Have you heard that one?
No, but I love that.
I think it was Wayne Dyer, Edging God Out. And it's also, he also had an acronym for it that was Earth Guide Only. So we need to utilize the ego in a way that supports us and doesn't thwart us, right? So the program's starting, and it's intensive. It's 12 hours on East Coast time for me, and I'm an owl, not a lark. So starting, trying to have my brain awake at 6 in the morning. Bit of a
Just stay up.
Yeah, I'll just stay up. Yeah. No, I have to do a reset on sleep. But yeah, that fear came up. Do I really want to do this? And is this the right choice? And all that, blah, blah, blah. But the point of what you just said with the chair demonstration, and I know you're engaging in many other things, the thought that came to me is more than ever right now, because we have such uncertainty and we're all kind of, being tossed around, to tie into something that is hopeful. Like I signed up for a 2-year program, a training program. In the uncertainty, I'm choosing something that is structure, and for me, it does cultivate hope, because it's something I love. I love learning. I love learning about spiritual concepts, and I'm going to be studying Jung and dream work and all the things I'm passionate about at a deeper level. So I just thought, that's really the key. When we feel hopeless or being tossed around, as we often talk about in the transformational times, where can we put our energy that is saying, despite all that's happening, I know that life continues. My life continues. This world continues, like my hiking trip too, that I'm still fumbling through, but we're going end of the month. And for me, it's saying yes to life. So that's kind of a topic, like, how do we find our inner yes? Yes, this is right for me. Saying yes to that, and saying yes to life, even in this crazy, like, it feels like it's hard to navigate, but we can still find a yes, and we must find a yes, and we must connect to something that is hope provoking, and I don't know if that's the word, provoking, cultivating, and saying, yeah, we're gonna continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the body processes that have us identify a yes and a no. Pick something that is a definite yes, and ask yourself the question, do I like chocolate?
Yes.
Where is that? Where is that feeling of certainty? Do I like liver? No. I'm very clear. Those are simple and very surfacey, but it's a great place to begin.
Yes.
I had last week, so I've been working with what is our spiritual community calling for right now. I've been noticing a little drop off in attendance via Zoom and in the room. We have enough space for about 8 or 9 people that can safely distance in the room. But I've noticed a little drop off, and part of that's August. I think everybody is that end of summer kind of feeling like got to grab the vacation while we can, even though a lot of us have been on vacation for months. There's still that old pattern of summer vacation that I think kicks in. And I felt like there's something else. What is it that wants to take us into the next year? What is it that wants to take us through maybe winter, through the election, through the whatever's going to be happening with COVID times, all this stuff. And I was laying in bed, and I got a little download of an idea, which I'm not going to talk about right now because I'm still putting it out to my community. But I got the download, and I had been feeling restless, trying to sleep, and I noticed I wasn't sleeping. And then all of a sudden I got this, well, what do I want to do? Well, what do I feel is I need? What do I need? Let's start there, because a couple of months ago, that was the way it helped me move through, was what brings me joy. I'm just going to do that. When this whole thing started, what brings me joy? I'm just going to do that and start there. So this idea came of how I want to do the next number of months. And I could feel a literal wave of peace and spaciousness, especially in my chest and heart region. As soon as that came in and I said yes, I said, oh, okay. And I actually reached for my pad of paper that I always keep next to my bed, and I just wrote down a couple of words so I would remember. I was pretty sure I would. But it was a very clear yes. And then, like you said, the ego comes in because I'm looking at just doing twice a month gatherings instead of, every week, making them more of an event, making them body centered along with some other stuff. But I got this very clear yes. And then my ego was like, oh, but does the Wisdom Council want to pay you if you're not doing every week and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, no, thank you for sharing, ego. Thank you for sharing doubt. Thank you for sharing fear. I appreciate your input, and we're listening to this other thing right now, because that's been part of my practice in the last, definitely really heightened in the last several months, is allowing whatever part of me needs to have it say, and then allowing the observer, the larger part of me, the deeper, more grounded part of me, to be the parent to that other part.
Yes.
So that's been, finding our yes and finding our no, and being willing to articulate that and to stand by that, even in the midst of the ego or the fear or the little self wanting to say, no, that may not be safe. What if people don't like it? Well, then we'll do, then we'll see what else is coming along. Like,
yes. And that's pretty much how I teach finding your yes, to connecting with your body, and sometimes just simplifying it as close your eyes, and your yes is go, it's green. Your no is red, it's stop. As simple as that. We try to complicate things, and let's keep it simple. And like you said, going to the thing that we know for certain. I'm a yes on chocolate, and I'm a no on liver. So, and then what does that feel like in our bodies? And really reference that when we have that certainty of knowing yes, check all the markers of that. What else do I notice? My body, how I feel, what's my yes. But for me too, it's also, if I can, and again, during uncertain times like now, we can feel really cloudy, and uncertain. And I think also kind of going back to our values, like aligned with our values, is a way to find that yes too. Or if we're kind of in doubt, what are my values? What do I need? And then, this checks all my values. This is all the things that I'm already trying to cultivate. Then it helps open the room for yes. Like this training program, when I went into doubt, I went back to, what do I value? And are those values being met through this program? Yes, 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 yes. Go, go, yes, go. So that's a helpful thing for me as well. But the other thing that I've been noticing in myself and wanting to expand is, I talk a lot about self-care with my clients and my other podcasts, and here you and I, but expanding it, that I think Cheryl Richardson said years ago, I think she wrote a book about it, extreme self-care, that extreme times require extreme self-care. But then I had this thought, yes, self-care, but soul care, and the distinction there. For me, there's a different feel and a different need connected to soul care. Would you agree?
Yeah. Although when I think of self-care, I think of kind of the capital S, which for me includes the soul. So there's little self-care, and I want to go buy a new blouse. That little self-care feels like the instant gratification. Whereas for me, the big ass self, get your big ass self out of the way, or in the way.
I love that.
The big ass self, the soul, is deep care. It's not just surface. It's not just a quick fix. It's not just a satisfying an immediate urge.
Yes. So for me, the distinction is self-care may look like, I might take a bubble bath. I may, like you said, for me, it's more of an external thing, doing my hair, or, but even going for a walk, so it's connected to body and somewhat external. Soul is a deeper. So it's like, I'm thirsty for self-care. I need to, I need that, but I'm deeply hungry for soul care. it's like I'm not fully nourished until I've connected to the soul too. And kind of the time out that you took last week felt like soul care combined, or the capital S, self,
Yeah.
including the all, that we're mind, body, and soul, connecting all of those. Because I think that's where we can feel still wobbly, like, oh no, but because I hear a lot of my clients will say, but I'm doing all those things. I go for walks, I go in nature, I'm journaling. Okay, how are you with your soul?
Yeah.
And so for me, that is listening to music or poetry, like, or artwork, as you did the chairs, artwork, that's soulful and soul filling for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought, you know me, I love to play with distinctions.
Yeah, me too. I'm all about
Self-care.
semantics, finding the right word. My,
Uh-huh.
my dad used to say, I'm not in charge of what tastes good in your mouth. Because people would say, well, how can you not like that? Or well, because in my mouth, it tastes different than clearly in your mouth. But I also like finding the words that taste good in my mouth,
I love
finding the
that.
right word that goes, oh, yes, to finding the yes in even the
Mm.
word choice. That's why I say and instead of but, because that for me gives me a spaciousness and it has me say yes to life, but has me close the door.
Get your
Close,
butt in the way.
yeah, exactly. Doesn't let my big ass self come through.
I
So
love.
yeah, you say green and red, and I took some learning that I got from somewhere. I don't remember where. But am I open or closed? Because for me, those are very
Mhm.
finite, defined feelings within my body, especially right here in this heart space, also in my stomach, but definitely my heart space. Is my heart open right now, or is my heart closed and protected? And I can
Mm.
tell that in an instant because I've been paying attention to what those feelings are. Somebody would say something and boom, I just guard, protect, shelter,
Mhm.
defend. If I'm in a defense mode, I'm definitely not open. So I've been
Right.
noticing that a lot lately.
Yeah. And during these times, of course, we always go into this topic because how can we not? This is what we're all swimming in, this world of, polarization and division, and so much up to be reviewed, and creating intensity, and again, that division. And I was thinking about that too. And I've been thinking about it since the beginning of, 2016. What is
Yeah.
happening? How is this happening? And I think more than ever, again, this feeling of values again. We're fighting for values, but we're not recognizing where we're trying to meet the same value. It just looks differently. And
Yeah.
because we're so supercharged that we're in the survival, fighting, we're working out of different parts of our brain, the more, primal, get your needs met at any cost, and we're not able to hold capacity, as you say, to be open, to hear, to
Yeah.
to let it register before we attack, and or get,
Right.
that attack. And I feel it too, and this is, we talked about last time, that's a lot of my pain, is noticing my own reactions when I always want to choose love, but I'm not always choosing love. And it's hard. And I keep coming back to, how can I do this better? Um, and then I'll get back in there maybe to Facebook, and 30 seconds in, I'll see a post and I'm out. I'll try again later. It's like getting thrown off of the bucking bull. No, I will
Yeah,
try
I'm out.
later.
I'm out for now. Let's get back
Peace
on
out.
later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
peace
I
out.
was sharing with my husband and a counselor that I've been challenged with sleep for a long, long time.
Mhm.
And lately, especially in the last definitely couple weeks, it's just gotten worse. So now instead of getting up every 2 hours, I'm up every hour, it seems like, because I'm even in an 8 hour night, 9 hour night, I feel like I'm up 7 and 8 times. So what I've gotten the opportunity, which is, crazy making, and along with everything else that's been going on in the world, which is giving us foggy brain and the sense of ennui and lethargy and all this stuff that's making a lot of us kind of foggy headed. I've got this other layer that's happening in my life.
Mhm.
So And
And
what's
that's good.
been interesting for me, especially in the, since the beginning of this month, this shift of energy is I've had a couple of times where I've snapped at my husband, but just like one little snap, and then I go, whoa, nope, 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 that's not what. Let me just take that back. I'm gonna take it back. I instantly forgive myself, and then say, that's not what I meant to say to you. And I was noticing a lot of agitated feelings, and I said, what I know is because of what's going on in the lack of sleep and the way that that's messing with the chemistry in my brain, is my feelings aren't a lot of my feelings aren't real. When something's real, I'm aware of it. It's, it's pervasive, it's ongoing. But these are, these momentary flares, and my impatience and my feeling like, I need to run away. Those are out of exhaustion, and those are they're not real. And somehow, I don't know how, but somehow, in the midst of all this crazy, I've also been cultivating more and more my observer. So my observer goes, hey, that's just crazy talk. That's not real. Let me drive for a few minutes. Again, just allowing it to exist. I'm not shoving it away. I'm not making it bad. I'm just saying this is a part of me. It's like my reptilian brain, like so many people, is on high alert. And that's also because of the lack of sleep and the chemistry that I'm sure is affected as a result of that. And at the same time, I feel more grounded and more sane and more patient and more present, because I've been really mindfully and forcefully, maybe that's not the right word, but intentionally cultivating this other observer part that is like the oversoul, the big S self that says, hey, it's okay. It's okay. Calm down. It's okay. It's just your crazy brain. Just relax. And I'm not denigrating anything else, but that's been an interesting phenomena that I'm noticing differently this week. And since I started, getting outside, doing some yard work, and creating some spur of the moment art. So I'm very clear that those tactile, kinesthetic, and primal activities, primal being, back to our roots before we had technology and everything else, we used to know how to release stuck energy from our bodies. Back in the ancient times, we knew to sing and keen and rock and dance and drum and make noise. And then, our white Anglo-Saxon Protestant stuff got everything all crammed into it. And so we've kind of like forgotten how to do that.
Yeah.
So it feels really important to tap back into the early wisdom of our ancestors that knew how to get this stuff out of us. The lion's coming, we get afraid, but we don't, our dogs know how to do it. They get, they get freaked out, and then they go, ooh. And then they're off to the next thing.
Yes.
And there's a really amazing healing technique that does body shaking that releases all kinds. I mean, there's tons of it out there now.
Yes.
I think it's really imperative that we explore those, because my mind can only get me so far. My body, the body knows.
The body knows. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Fear, as you were touching on fear, I mean, this is what I'm hearing, what you're saying is what I've been feeling too, is like, how do we notice when we're in fear? False evidence appearing real. I love that acronym. I also love the acronym face everything and rise, but it's the false evidence appearing real that this is why I think a lot of us are getting triggered more and more. First of all, we heard this term introduced about media a little while back, fake news. Then it's kind of exploded and distorted, and now everything is like what's real, what's not. But we all are, based on our values, tying into something news source that feels closer aligned to our values. And what I'm noticing is this tendency is that's the only source I'm going to. So it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the division's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But this false evidence appearing real for me, and I was just talking to a client about this morning, is we go too far in the future and too far away from ourselves and our own knowing and our own soul and wisdom and trust. And that's where we can get distorted. Now I'm out swimming in there, and I'm bouncing around with all this different information, and I forgot what I really value and believe and know and trust, you know, and the things that help me, like hope or my faith. But what you were describing reminds me of that, just coming to the present moment. I had a moment like this, was it yesterday? I was washing dishes, and honestly, I felt like I was 100% just with the dishes, which I don't like doing dishes, but I was like, wow, I'm noticing my hands in the water. I'm feeling that. And I thought in that moment, as you said, the observer, I'm not thinking about anything else but doing the dishes. And it felt, I'm noticing this more, like my psyche is taking these time outs where I'm just present to the thing I'm doing, instead of all those open window files of everything that's going on. And I think, you know, when we think about, have you ever seen that demonstration of how we flip our precognitive lid with the hand? Oh, I love this so much. Let's see if I can do it justice, but I can't remember where I learned this from. It might have been Tara Brach. So let's just say like this is a model of our brain, you know, brainstem, midbrain, prefrontal cortex. We've got all this stimulation on the external happening. Say you're watching the news, it's like really intense, or you've got some pressures in your life, and that's really, you know, activating some pressure on your system. Just one thing after another being bombarded. You mentioned tired. When we're tired, when we're having physical discomfort, a lot of stress. And so at some point, the prefrontal cortex, which is our logic, decision-making ability to discern and stay present, flips. It's just like, oh, I'm out, right? Left with the midbrain, the capacity of the midbrain, which is where our, you know, we've got our fight, flight, freeze reaction in the reptilian, you know, brain saying, I'm now in fear and I can't do any of the things that I want to do. I'm going to do what I need to do to survive.
Yeah.
Right. And
oh,
so
that's good.
isn't that good? And it takes a while to regulate, to get this calmed down. Right. And so this is not a time to have a conversation or to respond on Facebook. It's a time to step away, you know, and regulate and come back. And because when, as you're describing, we're practicing our tools more, we get to stay in the observer more, noticing instead of reaction, you know? Yeah. So we don't want to flip our lid. We want to stay intact and connected, so we can respond and so we can discern and say, that's not real to me. And I'm, you know, and stay in that objective, compassionate, objective observation, which is for me, again, the goal. And I'm not always, you know, here, can be here. So it's, and how do we catch ourselves before that lid flips, right? Catching ourselves.
Yeah. Or if it flips, go, oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. Yeah. That's what's been happening. A little more for me is it still is occurring, but I catch it almost as soon as it's coming out of my mouth, or, you know, just pull it back. No, that's not how we do this. And it's in a loving way. It's not in a punishing or make wrong or shameful. That's also, you know, good and different
good and different. And I also think, as you mentioned, all the, you know, movement and all that, I think, and this is important to, okay, I've got a lot of agitation, I'm going to move it, I'm going to express it. And, you know, I love my patient husband. He gives me permission. Part of my hiking is, as you said, you know, movement is so important. We used to move a lot more. Now we get in our cars, we drive to the closest parking spot, so we only have to walk a few steps to get in the store. It's like, well, you know, we used to walk everywhere, move our bodies more. But when we go hiking, there's generally guaranteed, I call it part of the hiking is my therapy, that as Iyanla van Zandt coined this. She said the angry lip monster comes out. Just, there she is, and she has some things to say, and she has a lot of doubt to express. And I've asked if I can just let that come forward. So he'll hike up the mountain a little bit further and wait for me, and I'm just having a little tantrum on the mountain, and then okay, and then I start hiking back up the mountain, and it's really been, I notice my body is not holding as much tension or pain.
Yeah.
So I think that, yes, it's beautiful and compassionate with our loved ones to catch it and let me do that again. But sometimes we need to full blast it somewhere, you know, as you talked about with the trees last time, or have some place to just put it on full blast, full permission to say it, get it out. And then we can come back to, you know, our baseline of our authentic self, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about you and your hiking tantrums because it reminded me of when I hiked up this mountain, and it was only when I got to a certain level of tiredness that I could let, you know, that my control freak could let go of all that I'd been holding on to. And I just sobbed and sobbed, and then it was like, okay, let's just keep going. You know, I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah. So I think that's also the value of body practices and breath work and, you know, temper tantrums, since as long as we're doing it in a way that doesn't hurt us or anybody else, getting that energy out of our body is so important because it bypasses the controls, the clamp downs, the I can't say these things because of whatever, to have a space where whatever comes out is just given room to express
Mm.
so that we can then go, "Ooh, that was good. Okay, now
Yes.
what's the next thing I want to do?"
Yes. Yeah. I can't wait to do improv with you again. That was, you know, I realized that years ago I was an actress, but I think acting and psychology is very much, you know, I loved human behavior. And then I made a decision to go on the track of helping people and studying human behavior in a capacity of holding support. But I lost my therapy, which was that playing a bitchy character or
Yeah.
rage angry person to move some of that energy, and I realized that was my vehicle. So improv, and I can't wait till, you know, we're at a
Yeah.
time when you can offer them again.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
and
I've
get
said,
back.
you know, my dramatic part needs a place to express, and when it doesn't have a safe place like an improv class, then it likes to express in other ways in my actual life, which is not always as good.
Right. So you say to your husband, honey, I'm just acting.
Yeah, just doing an improv about
Just do-
what a bitchy life would look like.
this is some anger improv. There was the breathing. Two things I was thinking about, you know, you bring up curiosity a lot, and that's too one of also I go to curiosity and I heard Stephen Levine talking about this. He said, when we engage curiosity, we shift to a different part of our brain, which is no longer in the fear part. We're now in curiosity actually calms the limbic system. And I guess we go to the I'm not very versed in this, but we switch, we engage the vagus nerve, which is
Yes.
myelinated. We're more calm and more able to be present. So that's what curiosity allows. And I love that. And I also think it's like it engages our Google brain into a positive search. I'm going to be open here and curious. But the breathing, and I've been curious about breath work, you know, I think you saw my silly video I put together about the official
I
breathing for
loved it.
2020.
I loved it.
I every time I heard someone or I saw a post that said, just breathe, I'm like, have you met 2020? You know, just breathe, like our regular, I'll take a breath and everything's good. No, we need some intense breathing. That's why that happened so spontaneously. I was dancing socially distanced at our property around the fire with 3 young mamas. And I told them my idea and they said, let's do that video right now.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Right. The breath, the birth breathing. Yeah. But what I notice sometimes, this is why breathing is so important, when any of us have had some trauma, and I don't know if really anyone who hasn't, because life can be traumatic,
Yeah.
but I can catch myself not breathing. I mean, I'll just be holding my breath. Like, okay, hold on now. Engage, you're disconnecting, breathe, connect. So for me, breath work is about a call back to connection,
Yeah.
right? I think that's, yeah. So I just made that connection the other day. Like you're disconnecting from yourself, and that's where breath can help come back and come back to home in ourselves. For me, I can find my energy going way out into this collective home and getting scared. You said one episode podcast, we call these, you said I just was really freaked out, really scared. And I think it's
Yeah.
easy to do, but I think it starts with the disconnection from here, and then trying to get out here in the external world what we value, and we're not finding those things so readily available. In fact, we find
Yeah.
a lot of chaos and disconnection. Yeah.
And when I
And I
really,
love that. I'm going to borrow that.
yeah.
And
And
yes.
when I really stop and really look at who I know and who I interact with and how it is when I go to the grocery store, I actually see, far more kindness and goodness and people caring about each other regardless of their political stripe. You
Mhm.
know, it's that fear part that has us, as you said, looking in the wrong direction. It has us heat-seeking missile for all the other dangers and all the other things that we can gather up into this web of chaos. And that's easy to do. There's some old, in me, I'm recognizing that there's just some really old patterning, some old ideas that shutting down, pulling away, all that stuff is somehow safe. And I know better, and I know better. And then I just watch myself occasionally fall back into that mucky mud puddle. And there's a part of me that, kind of likes being miserable.
Mm.
And I get to honor that part too, somehow. Yeah, like, okay, you can go be miserable for a little while. You can go feel helpless for 20 minutes, like, because there's a part that wants, that dramatic part that wants to feel helpless, that wants to give up, that wants to feel futility. And I don't know why. I'm sure there's some psychological reasons that I just don't understand because I haven't studied enough. And how can I be with it and not have it work against me? How can I be with it in the same way I would be with a upset, freaked out 3-year-old? I wouldn't punish that being. So yeah, so that's just really recognizing that it seems to be part of me, and I'm assuming part of a lot of people, that there's some juice that we get from drama and upset and rage, and I can't believe they posted that on Facebook. There's something that gets fed there, and some part that wants to express that way. So can we find creative ways to like taking that hike and having your temper tantrum alone on this side of the mountain for a little while? Can we find a place where that need can be met so that it doesn't hijack us?
Yes. Yes. I think, I share about this often, that anger for me when I was younger was I'm not doing that. And I hit it, and but it's essential. So it was a reclaiming of healthy expression of anger and being okay with that, and teaching my husband, I need to practice this again. And as you said, having people around us that honor where we're at and what we're working on and what we need. And one of my very good friends gave me one of the greatest gifts I've ever received in my life. 2 times. When I first met her, when I first moved here, shout out to my friend Nancy. I met her and I said to her, "You're going to be one of my teachers," but I didn't know what. We are very much like sisters. She's like my little sister, and we have our bratty little tantrums with each other. But the depth of love there. But she, one time, I said, I'm not coming. We're going to have a party, a get together. We used to have a holistic healthcare center. And I said, I'm not coming because I feel really angry with you still. I feel really unresolved with you and we need to talk and I'm not coming to the party. And she said, why don't you just come to the party angry? Oh, fine, I will, fine. And I remember I stomped in, angry at you. I'm not going to talk to you. But because she had given me, it makes me want to cry, permission to be angry, that anger dissipated within 10 minutes of my arrival. I was no longer angry because it had space to breathe and move. And just to show up with it. I'll never forget that gift. And another thing she did one time, she called me, it was a gift for me, although I was holding space for her. She called me and said, can I come over? Are you at home? Cell phones, you never know where you find your person. Are you at home? Yes, I am. Can I come over? And I could feel my fixer. Oh yeah, what do you need? I got you. And she walked in and she said, I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to let me put my head on your lap.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay. So she sits down, puts her head on my lap, and begins to sob. And of course, I want to fix this, but I just simply honored her request. I put my hand on her back and my hand on her head, and I sat with her. And she sobbed for a while. Got up. Okay, thank you. And she walked out the door. No conversation about what had happened. She just needed to be held and caught and supported. And it taught me so much about, number one, holding space differently. And number two, asking for that deep need of, can you just, don't fix me, just hold me and be with me, right? Such a beautiful lesson. And I think that's another thing we're missing right now in this time, that we can't touch. And we're already touch deprived. We need that connection. So that's another layer that's adding to the agitation, to the disconnect, to the I can't calm and regulate because I can't get hugs and touch people in the way that I used to, held. Yeah. So for me, it's the reminder of, I love that phrase, to catch, to be caught to be held by a friend. My friend caught me with my emotions, but to catch and hold ourselves to a deeper level.
Yeah.
And that for me has been the disconnect. Real good at doing that for other people.
Yeah.
I'll do that for me. Yeah. Yeah. And I've yet to try that. And someday I will. I'm just going to call someone. Might be you, Asha.
Come on over.
And don't talk. I don't want to talk. I just need to put my head in your lap and let myself feel that I'm being held and allowed to just let it all go. And then it's gone. Yeah.
One of the things that and so maybe I'll invite people who are watching to try this with us right now.
Yes.
One of the things I've said in classes and I noticed for me, just thinking about it makes me feel sweet and deep and love. So I just invite you to, if you want to, just close your eyes and just be here in your own space just for a minute. And just open to your curiosity of what is Asha going to say next. So I'm just going to invite you to gently put one or both hands on your cheek. Just hold your cheek and your chin, maybe both hands, but definitely at least one. And imagine someone who just loves you. Maybe it was a beloved grandma or a favorite aunt. Seems to be most often a woman who would touch your face like this and just love you. Just say, it's okay, honey, I got you. And it's that touch of love, a touch of acceptance, that touch of patience. We might not be able to touch somebody else's face this way right now. And we can touch our own face and tell ourselves, I love you. I'm here with you. You're not alone. Just feel that love being transmitted through the palm into the body. Take a deep breath and just notice how you feel.
Beautiful. Thank you. Love that. I love that. This is a way that we can facilitate for ourselves here. I had this feeling of wanting to just hold your chin up, babe. You got this, right? And then I had this feeling of just wanting to drop back to my heart too. And for me, this is my go-to, hand over heart. And that was so beautiful. My body just flooded with, as you said, just the feeling of someone touching that loves you, holding you, and this sweet gesture. So thank you. I feel like that's a beautiful note to end on, that, just holding ourselves and being held. And we hope that you all felt held by this conversation. We truly are. Our hearts are open in the direction of you. So we hope that your soul was nourished and fed by this. We'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to this channel. If you haven't, share this video with someone that you think it might lift and support. And we'll see you next time with another unfolding of this journey that we're all on together. So peace be with you wherever you are.
Bye.